Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. It's Football at 4.
Football at 4 becomes Football at 5 today. It is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by the Gallery Bar, Book, and Games at Ocean Casino Resort. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Go to the Gallery at Ocean Casino. Go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to play. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. We'll be there on Monday. Today, we are live at Chickies and Pete's at the Tropicana in Atlantic City. And, you know, already there must be something going on again because there's like a bunch of people here hanging out, having a good time.
Yeah.
They are ready to go. Thursday night football is back tonight. We're into bowl season. You know who loves the bowl season?
Who loves the bowl season?
Andrew DiCecco.
He's a big
you know what that
bowler?
means? Well, I know he likes looking at the prospects and getting ready for the draft.
He
Am I
loves a good
lying?
mock.
Am I lying, Andrew DiCecco?
No, man, you're spot on.
I know the man too well, right? I know the man too well. We've been doing this long
Bowl
enough.
season.
I know what he's watching. He's watching the
three
Bahamas
years.
Bowl. What's that?
And we've been doing this 3 years now, believe it or not, Mike.
Believe it or not, right. I
Wow.
know he's watching the Bahamas Bowl
The
a lot
Meineke
differently
Car Care?
than you are.
The Meineke Car Care
Meineke
Bowl?
Car Care is like a big bowl. The Bahamas Bowl is like, he's got – I was actually, DiCecco, my girlfriend's an ECU alum. They're playing Coastal Carolina in the Birmingham Bowl, and we almost were going to go to the game, but to get to Birmingham round trip is a little pricey this time of the year. So we backed off of that. But let's dive into this matchup, man. There's a lot to kind of unpack on this game. The matchups, we love to hear what you're kind of pick your brain to see what you're kind of looking at here. All right. When you look at this Giants team, they run the ball. Right? That's what they want to do. But do you think now, a lot of people have asked, can they follow the blueprint of what Washington did? Do you think New York can run the ball successfully against this Philadelphia front?
Well, I think that's going to be their objective coming in, Mike. But based on what the Tennessee Titans, based on how they fared, I don't know that that's going to be the sound approach. I think they're going to try that. I mean, Daniel Jones has 522 yards on the season, averaging 43.5 a game. Saquon Barkley has over 1,000 this year. He's averaging 87 yards a game. That is their bread and butter. They don't have a lot of outside weaponry or downfield passing options to really threaten in that regard. So that's going to be if Saquon can't get going, this game could get out of hand pretty quickly.
Yeah, now, obviously, to me, I look at this and see if you kind of concur. They're good at the tackle position. Their outside tackles are pretty good, which is, that's why they like to bounce it to the outside in the run game. They're weaker on the interior. That's why I think this matchup will be interesting because the Eagles have had trouble stopping the run kind of in the interiors of the line. But if they try to run to the outside, sweeps, kind of, stuff to the outside with Saquon Barkley, that's where they're better. Thomas and Neal have been better. And we'll see that kind of matchup there because we know the one matchup where they're really going to struggle, I would imagine, is in the pass game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that. Their tackles, Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal, are that's a good tandem right there. But in the middle is where they're really susceptible. John Feliciano, the center. Shane Lemieux is their left guard, but I believe Nick Gates started last week. And then they have Mark Lewinsky at their right guard. They're very vulnerable up the middle, which is why I think that the Eagles can be able to get some penetration early and really disrupt things and probably force the Giants to become one-dimensional. You could see Javon Hargrave wreak havoc early again, just like he did last week. Fletcher Cox, who had one of his better games of the season, arguably last week. I think these guys are really going to take the game over because that's where the game's won and that's where they're most vulnerable.
Andrew DiCecco, Football at 4, which is Football at 5 today on the Sports Bash. Yeah, you got Bradbury and Slay. I think you feel pretty confident that, hey, if you want to try to take shots down the field, it's probably not happening today. So, I don't know. If you're the Giants offensively, what is your game plan?
Well, I think that their game plan is going to be to try and get Saquon Barkley going and hope that he can break one or wear the defense down. But they're eventually going to have to drop – Daniel Jones is going to have to drop back and try to find some semblance of a passing game down the field, which is going to be Darius Slayton, who leads the Giants, or he's tied with Saquon Barkley in targets with 52, leads the Giants in receiving yards with 533. he's going to be what has to happen. If they don't get him going, it's going to be tough. Daniel Bellinger is their tight end. He only has 100, and he has under 200 yards receiving. He's only averaging 8.4 yards a catch. He's not really a big play guy. He's a short to intermediate guy. Richie James is their slot receiver. He only has 30 catches on the season, or 30 targets rather. And then on the opposite side, they've rolled out a guy named Isaiah Hodgins. And he's someone that they claimed off waivers from the Buffalo Bills. He is their number 2 now. He had 6 targets last week, 5 catches in his first NFL touchdown. But they've been running out a lot of guys like Lawrence Cager, former Eagle Marcus Johnson, and a bunch of countless faceless players, really. The Wandale rookie he's out of commission. So I think go to Darius Slayton if that's the way they want to go.
Andrew, what role has Daniel Jones played in the Giants' success this year? Because we all overlook him, and maybe we don't overlook him. Maybe we're looking at the right level here, I guess. But if you have to give him some credit, or you have to just fill in and assess Daniel Jones for our listeners, what's something maybe underrated, or what's changed for him, if anything at all, to contribute to the success of the New York Giants this year?
It's a great question. And for better or worse, Ryan, he's fearless. And that sometimes comes to bite the Giants, as he's fearless with the football, and he's going to try and force it into his weapons. But he doesn't get enough credit, I think, from an athletic standpoint, what he's able to do as a runner and affect the game in that way, and really put defenses in a bind, frankly. I mean, averaging 43.5 yards per game is not too shabby for a quarterback. And we all remember that game in which I think he had an 80-yard run, and his lower body just gave out on him, and he just fell against the Eagles. But, I mean, he has the ability to, if he gets in the open field, he can break it. But, I mean, he's just a really erratic passer. He hasn't really evolved in that part of the game, which is obviously very important. But I think he's just had to rely on his athleticism and it's sort of like these big plays to really generate any semblance of offensive efficiency. But from an athletic standpoint, he's very impressive.
Let's stick with the quarterback. Let's just jump around a little bit. Let's go to the Eagles offensively. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense. Jalen in particular, his best day of the season passing, 380 passing yards, his best mark of the year, coming off a week prior where he had one of his best games on the ground. I don't know if we can predict what to expect from this team and this offense anymore, but which version, which style is going to show itself for this fight against the Giants?
Yeah, I wanted to back up just a sec, Ryan, about what you said. I mean, just to sort of put that out there, I mean, 453 all-purpose yards, 380 in which came off of his arm. A.J. and Devontae combined for 220 yards, 3 touchdowns on 13 catches, and he hit 9 different wide receivers, which is really I've seen Jalen really facilitate the ball and get a lot of different guys involved, which I think is a sort of has not really been discussed this season. I think that we all talked about him focusing on and force-feeding the ball to A.J., but I think he's really found ways to get guys like Jack Stoll and Grant Calcaterra and Boston Scott on occasion, and these different guys, Quez Watkins, Zach Pascal, and get these guys involved with the offense. But I think this week you're going to see them try and take advantage of a Giants secondary that they're very aggressive. I mean, Don Wink Martindale is an aggressive coordinator, and they play a lot of man coverage. And I think you're going to see the Eagles really try and expose their secondary, which can be a little bit grabby, and they're not exactly as fundamentally sound. And I think they'll be able to take advantage of them with Devontae and A.J. I also think Quez Watkins, if he's at full strength, is going to find ways to attack that secondary as well. The Giants up front they're pretty stout in the middle. Dexter Lawrence leads the team in sacks with 6, and he has 20 quarterback hits, which is a pretty astounding number. So I think that there's going to have to obviously find that balance, but I think when you look at the past 2 games against Green Bay and Tennessee, I think you're going to see more of the Tennessee approach this week.
Brian Daboll has done an excellent job in New York with the Giants. Certainly have to give him a lot of credit, which has been put out there by many, both locally and nationally. Coach of the Year conversation. Nick Sirianni's the favorite, by the way, but Brian Daboll certainly deserves some credit. If you're a part of that Giants coaching staff, how are you game planning everything that you just broke down for what the Eagles have to offer as far as an attack? How do you anticipate the Giants to try and throw the Eagles off base a little bit?
Well, I mean, they also have the highest blitz rate at, I think it's at it's the highest rate in the NFL. So I think they're going to continue to be aggressive. However, they have not been very successful on blitzes. I think they've only gotten 9 sacks, if I'm correct on that, off of blitzes. But I think they're going to try and do that and flush Jalen Hurts out of the pocket and try and force him to make plays on the move, which Jalen's really proven that he doesn't really have any weaknesses. So I don't know if there's really a sound attack approach to try and slow this offense. But I think they're going to try and throw the kitchen sink, for lack of a better term, at the Eagles and see if they're able to flinch and make a mistake. That's really their only hope at sort of coming out of this week with a win.
What do you think about that? If they just say we're going to all-out blitz, is that playing into the Eagles' hands?
Yeah, I think so, because the Eagles have the pieces in place and they're equipped to diffuse that and find a way to. I mean, they have enough on offense and they have the offensive line and everything to really beat teams any which way that they want to do and any way that they want to. And I think that if they do that, that would be a mistake on their end, the over-aggressiveness, which it's just sort of been a staple of Martindale's defense. So, I mean, that would be a mistake on their end.
Yeah, I know that people love the blitz. The Eagles fans want to see more blitz. But if the Eagles blitz this week, that'd probably be playing into the Giants' hands.
Yeah, and why blitz it? You saw that they were able to get home with 4. I think that the people just want to blitz, right? I don't know that's really necessary right now. I mean, and on the subject of Jonathan Gannon, I mean, the Eagles have the number 1 pass defense, which is first in the league. They have 23 interceptions. Their sack percentage is first in the NFL. And like I said, they're getting home with 4 guys. So I think they just need to stick with what's been successful in the past couple of weeks and not go off script.
Yeah, I know that this matchup here, the Giants very limited offensively, make them even more one-dimensional if possible here and bottle them up. They got really one big weapon, and that's Saquon Barkley. What, in your mind, Andrew, we talk about Barkley and bottling him up. What have the Eagles been able to do? And look, Green Bay ran the ball pretty well against them, but what did they do last week that maybe has changed, I don't want to say changed entirely the perception, but that makes us feel that they can stop Saquon Barkley? What did they do against Henry that they can do possibly in this game and then moving forward?
Well, they sold out to stop the run. I mean, I think they went into the game knowing that if Derrick Henry doesn't come out with 150 yards, the Titans had no chance in coming out with a win in that game in all likelihood, given their scarcity at the offensive skill positions. But Linval Joseph has been playing nose tackle the past few weeks, starting, I should say, at nose tackle. And he's been a breath of fresh air. He's invigorated that line. He's allowed guys like Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave to come out fresher and fresh legs, obviously. But I also think that and really favored someone like a Reed Blankenship, who, when they wanted to crowd the line of scrimmage, I mean, he's a physical downhill thumper, and I thought he was really active against the running game. I think that they heard all week how physical the Titans were, and you sort of saw a guy like a James Bradbury and a Marcus Epps coming down early to make statement hits on Derrick Henry. They took that personal, and I think it was a collective effort, and they heard the outside noise. So I think that all played into why they were able to find so much success defending the run.
Yeah, and, you're looking at the Giants here. I want to get your thoughts on how desperate they are. It doesn't feel – I mean, look, if they lose the game, they're still in it. But, man, their schedule's brutal. They got to go to Washington next week. Washington has a bye. They just played to a tie. So Washington essentially gets 2 weeks to kind of study what they did wrong, let the Eagles beat up on the Giants a little bit here. They play Minnesota coming up. I mean, this is going to be a desperate Giant team. But Philadelphia cannot afford to slip up in this game. So who's the pressure on more, Philadelphia or New York?
Well, I think the pressure is more on New York this week, Mike, but you're right in making the case for both of those teams. And I think coming off that convincing win against the Titans, it's very easy to have a letdown week or be a little bit complacent moving into the next week. But it hadn't been any other team that they were facing, like maybe the Texans or the Jaguars. But knowing that they had to get up for a divisional game with something riding on it, I think that the locker room and the coaching staff and the veteran presence that they have there won't allow the team to have a letdown, knowing what's at stake. So knowing that, I think that you're going to see the Eagles really rise to the occasion as they pretty much have all season and take out the Giants. But the Giants are they're gonna throw everything that they can at the Eagles because they know that their season's on the line. You and I have talked about this. I also talked about this with Brian. I never thought that the Giants were legitimate contenders because they were pretty one-dimensional, and I didn't think that they had the weaponry to be able to make a deep run. I thought it was kind of smoke and mirrors.
All right. If Monday we're saying the Eagles lost this game, what happened?
I think that it would have to be that the Giants applied a lot of pressure and Jalen Hurts forced the ball uncharacteristically in the windows and turned the football over. That would have to be it. I mean, the turnovers are the only way that I could see this happening. You don't have to look any further than reverting back to last season when Jalen went to MetLife and he threw 3 interceptions. I don't see that happening at all this week, guys. He's a markedly different quarterback and an MVP frontrunner for a reason. His transformation has been one of the great stories of 2022. But the only way that I see them dropping this game would be due to turnovers.
All right, Andrew DiCecco, Football at 4, which is Football at 5 today. You can check him out at DiCecco NFL on Twitter and read his stuff over in his coverage at InsideTheBirds.com. 3 straight road games, too. Keep that in mind for Philadelphia. 3 straight roadies here. New York, Chicago, and then Dallas. We'll see that all unfold, and you can listen to the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, Andrew, who's going to win and why?
Well, I got the Eagles winning this game. I'm going to say, why don't I say 27-13?
27-13.
And I think that they just have so much momentum moving forward. They're going to build off that 35-10 thrashing over the Tennessee Titans. Jalen Hurts knows how last year went, and I think he's going to go in there and really continue to check off all the boxes that he continues to do.
All right, that game right here on 97.3 ESPN Sunday at 1. Andrew, appreciate it, bud.
You got it, guys. Talk soon.